Hello, good evening. Now, today I want us to learn about the intermittent curve. Remember, that is where we have reached so far as growth curves is concerned. And in our lesson today, we shall actually discuss what happens in these phases of the intermittent curve. So I think we have to focus on this particular graph. Hopefully, able to see how the graph looks like. Good. Now, in this graph, we are able to see that the growth curve of this particular organism is not very smooth all through. It's not continuous, but instead, growth occurs between point A, then it stops here for a while at point B, and then at point C, growth starts again. So what actually happens in these particular zones? Remember that intermittent growth curve is very observed. It is observed in vertebrates, especially those organisms which have got their bodies covered with the exoskeleton. So usually their bodies actually have got a very hard exoskeleton, which is tough, which cannot increase in size. So for the organism to grow or to increase in size, it means that the exoskeleton has to be shed, a process called molting or ecdysis, we shall see later. So when the organism, for instance, is born, the exoskeleton is flexible. Therefore, there will be seen that the organism will tend to increase in size up to a certain point whereby the exoskeleton will have actually hardened. So at that particular point, there will be no increase in size. There'll be no increase in size. Okay. Yeah. So at this particular point, then at point C, then the organism has to shed off its actually exoskeleton, a process called ecdysis. Okay. So ecdysis will actually make the hard exoskeleton to be shed off. Therefore, the organism will now, this will allow room for the organism to expand again. Hence, we shall be able to see that the organism will increase in size to a certain point. So at this particular point here where the cursor is, the organism will stop growing. This is because the exoskeleton will have hardened again. The exoskeleton will have hardened again, hence inhibiting or preventing the organism from growing in or increasing in size. So the organism will stop growing until at a certain point where ecdysis occurs again. So you can see between point C and this particular point here. So at this particular point is where now there will be another ecdysis or another molting. Okay. Yeah. So as ecdysis occurs here, it will now give room for the organism to start expanding again or growing again until it reaches maturity. So you will be able to see that this curve is different from the sigmoid curve. So at point A, this is point where growth occurs. Okay. This is because the exoskeleton at that particular point is soft, hence allowing the expansion of the organism. So at point B, there is no growth. This is because the exoskeleton has hardened. Therefore, the organism cannot be seen increasing in mass. So at point C, it is where molting occurs. Molting actually can be refers to the shedding off of the exoskeleton. Okay. So the exoskeleton will be shed off at point C. So when the exoskeleton is shed off, okay, it will give room now for the organism to start expanding again, hence allowing rapid growth at this point here. Then when the exoskeleton hardens, the organism will stop growing for some time. So at this particular point, it is where molting occurs. So this point here, between this first point and this second and this molting is the intermolt or insta. So this here is our first insta, this here is our second insta, this here is our third insta. So molting usually occurs at this particular point. So here the organism molted for the first time. Here it molted for the second time before reaching maturity. I hope you have understood about the the intermittent curve. Now, at this particular juncture, let us learn about, let us actually have the literature. So we've said this intermittent curve is evident in, arthropods. It is evident in arthropods. So in arthropods, it is actually where this particular I was saying it is evident in arthropods, and we said in Form 3 the topic classification, arthropods have got exoskeleton. So growth in arthropods is intermittent. That is, it takes place during some time only because they have got the hard exoskeleton, which does not expand to cause growth or to allow growth to occur. So the cuticle must be shed off first to allow further growth. So the shedding is called ecdysis. The shedding is called ecdysis or molting. So when molting has taken place, the animal will grow, but the growth stops when the exoskeleton hardens again. So we have seen that in arthropods, this type of growth curve usually is evident. This particular growth curve, which we call intermittent, is evident. And we've seen that at this particular zone A, there is growth because the exoskeleton is soft, hence it allows expansion of the organism. And then at point B, there is no growth because the exoskeleton from this point to this point has actually hardened. So if the exoskeleton is hard, it does not permit growth to take place. So for growth to take place, the exoskeleton has to be shed. So the shedding occurs at this particular point, and that shedding off of exoskeleton, I've said it's called molting. So at point C, it is where molting occurs. So immediately after molting has occurred, we have seen that the organism will start growing again. So this type of growth curve is what is known as intermittent growth curve. So we shall stop there for now. See you again in the next lesson. Bye-bye. Have a nice time.